Hey there, welcome back to the Mountain Morning Show. I am so excited to introduce to you Jon Johnson. He's the owner of Zipline Utah. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you today?
I'm excited to be here.
Good.
This is fun.
We are so thrilled to have you here. I was out at what you would call it looks like something you would see out of like an acrobatic show, really. Some of the stuff that I saw there out at Zipline Utah, it looks so much fun. And you are part of our Heber Valley Mountain Weekend show that's airing this weekend, so don't miss out on it. You guys have an awesome feature in there, but you are right next to Deer Creek Reservoir, right?
Right next to it, right on top of it.
Yeah, on top of it. This is, yeah, rightly so. But
Yep.
let's first talk a little bit about your background, Jon, with creating and building zip lines. You've been doing this for a really long time.
Yeah, it goes back to when I was a 12, 14-year-old boy. Found some cable and I'd heard about these things called Ziplines, and from a small town in southern Utah, we didn't really get the experience to go out and do these things. I just would hear things and I'd go out and create them. And one of them was a zip line. Found this cable and strung up a cable. The first one went from a big tree on the side of a hill to the base of a tree. So you can imagine there was some carnage for the first person that tried
who was
that.
Like the guinea pig for this?
We conned in one of my brother's
Nice.
little friends to try it out, and he skipped along the ground.
Recovered, I'm sure.
Recovered, actually wasn't too bad. Then we put the other end up into the tree, and that was the start of our first successful zip line, and
Nice.
it grew to a couple years later. My dad found another big 600-foot cable, and we strung that across our 10 acres. As kids on 10 acres, we pretty much had free reign of whatever we want to build, and we had to be creative back then as kids.
I know, right? You're like, go do something outside.
So we build forts and zip lines out of them.
How fun is that? And you've come a long way since those zip lines, that's for sure. And one thing I was really kind of floored by when I was out there with you guys is that you built yourself the majority of what we see out there. Not only did you design it, but you were part of the team that constructed it. Tell me about that.
Basically, I'm a one-man show. I was lucky enough to get some of my friends to help front some of the money, but basically we can afford to bring in a big zipline building company. By building it myself, I was able to save, we figure about $1 million.
Wow.
So me and my brother helped me build part of the course, and some of my guides would come in on, we'd kind of rotate who was helping me build that day, and took us all year, all winter to build everything.
We're looking at some of the footage here right now. This is the platform I was out on when we were interviewing. How high is that platform?
It's 80 feet.
80 feet.
So you can imagine me and one other guy putting up all those timbers and stuff from a man lift. That was probably the most interesting aspect of the build, was getting the top of that platform built.
I mean, check out these views. What length of zip line are we looking at here?
So you're going down a 1,000-foot zip line back to that tower.
Wow.
So in the zip line world, anything over about 900 feet is considered a pretty long zip line. And we have two zip lines over 1,000 feet, and then our 4,000-foot one over the base. So we have some pretty impressive zip line spans.
And you have a record for the longest zip line over water in the world, right?
So previous to this, the ones that were claiming to be the longest was down in Mexico somewhere over a bay in the ocean. It's a really pretty zip line, but their zip line is 2,500 feet. So we're about 1,500 feet longer than
we're a little more than
those that are claiming to be the longest zip line over the water.
Cool. Well, tell us some of the surrounding views that we see up there. I mean, these are gorgeous.
I mean, that's the great thing about where we're at, the backdrop of Deer Creek State Park, and just over the top of the hill is the Wasatch Mountains. So if you make it to the top to get the start of the big one, you're treated with some of the most amazing views of the mountains and Deer Creek. You can even see down into Midway. You can see down in pretty much the whole Deer Creek lake and reservoir. So this is a span. You're going almost 2,000 feet over the lake. You can look down on a nice clear water day, and you can actually see the fish
Really?
swimming in the water. You can see,
That's beautiful.
saw some big old fish in there.
Oh man.
I'm guessing the big ones are carp, but it still looks pretty cool to see them down in the.
Hopefully they're carp and nothing more
see
dangerous
it in the
than I was
water.
kidding.
So.
But well, Joe, my co-host, was wondering at one point, are you guys thinking of doing like a release over the water? That would be so cool. That's not there right now.
Not there right now. Our big line is between 150 and 250 feet above the water, so that'd be quite a drop.
That's kind of a drop. Okay, I didn't realize that.
Our big zip line drops about 400 feet, but we're hoping to one day put in some smaller ones, kind of have a little swim platform out
that'd be
there,
great.
and you can kind of zip line out and run through it. So.
Sure. Well, your belay system is very unique in comparison to other zip lines. Tell me why.
There's only recently on the market the last 2 or 3 years, we have what we call a continuous belay system. It's basically once you start the course, you're 100% attached to it. There's no way to unclip. Back in the old days, you had two hooks. You'd hook one on, pass a point, unhook it,
Right.
hook it. So there's a chance that human error, you could be both unhooked.
Yeah.
And if somebody bumped you right at that time, or you slipped, there's potential for a lot of danger.
Serious injury for sure.
This one, once it slides on, it's in the shape of a C, so it slides past the attachment point but can't come off of it. And so it's takes away all the fall factor from all the risk from the guests, makes it 100% secure in your attachment. All of our zip lines are attached between 2 and 3 different ways. So everything's backed up and redundant. So we want this to be 100% safe. Me being the owner, there's a lot of sleepless nights, worrying about people. So I want to eliminate as much of that as possible and make it as safe as we can. We get a lot of little kids. We get a lot of mothers. We had a youth group of 30 teenage girls up there yesterday.
Oh, I bet that was a riot.
I got a call from one of the leaders, say, "Hey, is this safe? We're trusting. I got to bring these girls back safe." And we're all like, "You bet," because with this new system we have, there's no way that they can fall off. They may slip, and fall down, but their lanyards are, 2 to 3 feet. So that's pretty much their
That's really
maximum
comforting
that they can fall.
to know that and to hear that you take that much care and what you're doing, because as I said before, you designed and constructed it yourself. You've put really your own blood, sweat, and tears into this. It's kind of like your dream come to fruition.
It is.
After all this time. How is that?
It's really cool. And back to that point on safety and stuff, there's Zipline standards, ACCT. We have to meet all those standards too. This is not just like some guy designing a zip line.
Yeah.
We have to meet these standards before we can be insured by insurance, before the park will let us operate at the park. So we meet all those standards so that we can meet all the current guidelines as well. So, we want everybody to know that has been a question also to us. But as far as dreams, coming from a little 300-foot zip line I made at 14, and going into people's backyards and building zip lines there to what I have now. I mean, I'm so tickled. Every time I go over that 4,000-foot zip line over the lake, it's still a thrill to me every single time, because zip lines are kind of living things, whereas a roller coaster, you're on a fixed thing every time. The zip lines, the wind directions, the currents can change from the top to the bottom of that line. So it's a different feel, it's a different ride. There's different people underneath it on their boats and fishing and paddleboarding. And so it's really cool, because every line is different almost every time you do it.
That's exciting.
It's really cool, and to see these big towers grow out of the ground, it's really fun to have been a part of it, and to hear people's feedback and how much they enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it's cool when they get down and say, "Oh my gosh, that was so much better than this zip line I just did." It was, I'm like,
you're like,
that's what I love to hear.
But we're happy to hear it.
No,
That really
I love
great.
it. that's the reward at the end of the day, is hearing
see the
people's
smiles on people's
excitement
faces
about it.
I mean, really, check out that weekend show for Heber Valley, the Mountain Weekend Show. You can get a lot more details and cool views of what that looks like out there. That's even just some of our extra footage we were running a second ago that looks amazing from what you just saw from the air on our drone footage.
As soon as you get to see the views and stuff from out there, the real views, man,
it's quite spectacular.
That's what I get to work in every day. So
don't brag. That's so unfair. That's
pretty
amazing.
cool.
You get to be outside and enjoy all that. But you were mentioning you're there at Deer Creek Reservoir, and you have more sustainable practices when it comes to the construction of the zipline. How so?
So our contract states that anything we build, if we for some reason lose our contract, we have to take everything out. So that means we can't plant any big concrete structures. There's no permanent structures. So all our poles are planted into the ground. All our anchors are screwed into the ground. So it'd be really easy to just go and, well, I wouldn't say it'd be easy, but we can go pull the poles out. We can move our whole zip line somewhere else if we needed to. So we're 100% green. We're run off solar power.
That's pretty unique.
Green.
Yeah.
You don't get any greener than what we are.
Right.
We have some roads. Once we stop driving on them, the grass grows back in, and you can hardly even tell we have been in some of the places putting these poles in because of just the Mother Nature renewing itself and not having any permanent concrete structures or anything.
Wow.
So the park is really excited about that. They've been a great partner
brings more to them too,
to work with. They love the idea of having everything. We didn't have to put any roads, cut any roads into the hillside. It's all 100% just driving over the terrain and then letting it grow back once we're done. So they really like that aspect of it, that we haven't really disturbed the park setting at all.
That's so great. And as part of the zipline experience, you have different options for people depending on how long they want to do or how adventurous they are, I should say. What are those?
Again, I come from a fairly large family, and we range in spectrum from making money or not making money. So I want something for everyone to do. So I've tried to make a course. Our courses range from $25 up to our big, huge course, which is only $100. There's other zip lines in the area. For $100, you get 4 zip lines. For ours, we get 10 zip lines, 7 bridges, over 2 miles of course, which is actually one of the longest zip line courses in the world as well.
Wow.
Of 2 miles. Cool. And something that's unique too is most zip lines, they drive you to the top of a hill, and then you zip line back and forth down the canyon. Our zip line, in the way we design it, is actually a loop. So you zip line uphill or walk bridges up the hill. And once you start the course, you never touch the ground. A lot of courses you zip line down, you hike, a half mile over to this one, and then you ride the next zip line. Ours is continuous. Once you start it, you're in the air, you're walking these obstacles, and you're riding the zip lines.
Yeah.
So we have basically an outback course, $25. You get to climb the 80-foot tower, do 2 600-foot zip lines, so they're still pretty good size. Then we have a 4 zip line course, a 6 zip line course, and then our big, huge 10 zip line, 7 bridge course. And
you have a really cool line. Is it called the Screaming
Falcon?
Yes.
So that's on our big course. That one's the 4,000, just shy of 4,000 feet.
Nice.
And it's the third, from what I have found, it's the third longest in the States, and then the longest over the water in the world. And we call it the Screaming Falcon just because we have a lot of falcons and osprey, and there's a few eagles that are flying around. And I was up on the top tower working, and these 2 birds of prey were chasing each other, letting out this scream as they're calling to each other, and it's like, wow, that's really cool. So
it's going to be the name.
And you may scream a little bit yourself as you're going down.
That's another reason, I'm sure it works.
But it's almost, it feels like you're a bird almost flying.
Yeah.
It's so long that you have time to just sit back and relax and enjoy the ride.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, even looking at some of the images during I think those were from last season during the snow, even when you guys were constructing this and putting it all together. That's pretty cool. And you mentioned you had a group of 30 teenage girls that went out to enjoy it. So you do corporate events, you do small groups, you do families, share with, I mean, this is a great team building thing too.
I mean, the cool thing about it too is we can accommodate these groups just because of it being a loop. You know, you can start it and end it in one spot. We don't have to drive you anywhere, so we can get a lot more people through it. But we're also right next to the Deer Creek State Park. We have a big 150-person pavilion. 50 feet past that is the lake, so you can come out, you can boat on the lake, walk up, go up, do zip lining. If you have a big group, you can rent out that pavilion through us or through the park. You can we cater lunches.
Nice.
So you can come do your group thing under the pavilion. We can have lunch there for you, and then you can come zip line, or zip line and then do lunch or whatever. So we really love the big groups and facilitating them.
Great.
And
well, it sounds like
everybody seemed to really enjoy it so far.
Sounds like a good idea for the day. I like that you guys take care of all of it. All the adventure, you have the Deer Creek right there, and of course you can cater to that as well. So perfect. And we can go online to register or call you guys, right?
You bet. ZiplineUtah.com. Definitely the reservation, especially for big groups, you need the reservation to make sure that you're not sharing it with everybody else. You do a big group, then we try to block out that whole time for the group.
That's wonderful.
So that we're not competing with other groups. Pick your day, your time. There's a description of all the different courses and what they entail, how much time. You can take up from an hour to 3 hours. We had some 65, 70-year-old ladies that did the full tour the other day. They took 4 hours, but they made it through.
But they did it. That's amazing.
Ticked it off that bucket list, and
and
they were really excited about it and really thrilled about the big one. You can also just do the big one over the water. We can drive you up in a Ranger and just get that big thrill and views of that big one. So we have basically 5 course options with more to come. So
nice. Okay, well, in the last 30 seconds I have left, what's next for you guys?
Huge ropes course, 3-tier ropes course. It wraps in and out of that big tower we've seen on the TV. Big 80-foot climbing wall up the face of the tower. So it'll be one of the tallest climbing walls in the country as well. Hopefully in the future, maybe a tube park, a wakeboard park, with the lake there and stuff. There's so much to do at Deer Creek.
Wow. So I was like, wow, you're going to take a break. No, you're still busy. You're still at it. That is so cool.
There's no break.
I know. That's so great. It's a passion of yours. You can certainly see that and what you've built. But good luck moving forward. It's so cool to have you.
Thanks for having me.
We are so thrilled to be sharing or featuring you guys this weekend on our Mountain Weekend
I'm excited
show,
to see it.
Over Heber Valley. I mean, the sights, the views, the sounds, so cool. You need to check out Zipline Utah. Jon, thank you very much. Nice to have you here. We'll be right back after this commercial break, and we do let you know what's happening in the next hour.